Hey guys, today we're checking out the HP t620 Plus thin client. We will be looking at quite a few things. For retro gaming, we will install Windows XP, check out the integrated graphics, and then upgrade to a GeForce 730 GT. We will also install Windows 10 because this machine is powerful enough to be used as a home server or playing media files. And I've also installed the GeForce GT 1030 to see how that's like. We will have a look at all the ports, take a look inside, see what upgrade options there are, and we have some power results and some benchmarks as well. The thin client comes with a 16GB flash module, which is not enough for Windows 10, so I reached out to GearBest and asked them if they could send us a M.2 SSD. They sent us a 240GB SSD from Nitec. Unfortunately, this actually turned out to be a NVMe SSD, and the machine is only compatible with SATA M.2 SSDs, but I was able to get some benchmarks of this SSD and the performance is really decent. If you're interested in this product, I will put some links down below in the video description. So the ThinkPad T620 Plus has an AMD APU with 4 cores running at 2 GHz. We've got an integrated Radeon 8400E video card, 4 GB of DDR3L memory, but that's upgradable to 16 GB, and we've got a 16 GB M.2 SATA SSD from SanDisk. Now this thin client was sent to us by Richard, who runs a eBay store out of the USA. I'll put some links down below in the description for you to check out if you're interested. Do take a look at the article description just to be sure that you know what's included and what isn't. So at the front of the unit we've got a headphone and microphone audio ports, 2 USB 3.0s, 2 USB 2.0s. Here we've got a power button which has a power LED, and this little LED is for the hard drive activity. At the back of the unit we've got gigabit Ethernet, 2 USB 2.0. We've got 2 display ports. Now they can do 4K but only at 30 Hz. We've got a low profile PCI Express slot. We will have a look at that in more detail later. 2 PS2 ports. We also have 2 serial ports, a parallel port, audio ports at the back, and here goes the power supply. Here we have a look at the power supply, 19.5 volts and 4.26 amps, rated at 90 watts. Now a 90 watt power supply, that seems very excessive, but this is really just in case you're using a high performance graphics card in that PCI slot. Out of the box, under idle it only draws 6 watts, and when you max out the processor, only 20 watts. So this is perfect for a 24/7 home server, and it will not consume a ton of power. So these thin clients, these are second hand, so there's some obvious wear and tear, usually some scratches and other cosmetic little issues. Now this one had a red security sticker on here. I don't know if it was being used with the NSA or something like that, but it had some security warning on here, and that sticker I found impossible to remove. Usually using orange power sticky spot and goo dissolver does the trick, but all it did was strip away the red color, and even my sticker scraper here wasn't able to remove the sticker. So that's something to keep an eye out if you're looking at buying one of these thin clients. I noticed something else. The USB ports seem to be upside down, but then I saw the orientation of the logo. So I had a look on the internet, and looking at photos of the T620 and T620 Plus, they're all in an upright position. However, they usually come with a stand, and without the stand, you can easily knock this unit over. And my unit didn't come with a stand. So once again, this is something to look out for. Have a look in the article description and check if there's a stand included. If not, ask the seller. It's definitely something I recommend that you get. A quick note about the DisplayPort outputs. You can get a DisplayPort to HDMI converter, and yes, the DisplayPort does carry digital audio. So what we're going to do next is open the unit and have a look inside. So there's a little tab here, and that lets you remove this back plate. And here we are. There's a little green latch here. Just push that to the left side to unlock, and then slide forward the top of the case, and we can open the machine. Now that we have the machine open, we get another big clue that this thin client is meant to be standing upright, and that has to do with the cooling, which we can see here. So the fan actually pushes air upwards, and you can have a PCI Express card installed here, so it will blow air over the PCI Express card, cooling that one, and then exit out of the top of the case. Now there's a green latch here, you can just pull that, and then the cooling mechanism opens, and we get a peek inside the machine. So inside the machine we can see there's one hidden USB port here, and there's another one over there. Now I've been told that this machine comes with two different motherboards. The machine I have has a motherboard which has the M SATA slot here and the M.2 slot over here. I asked Richard twice if he knows which motherboards are in his units. I didn't get a reply, so I think this might be random. However, both motherboard revisions will have the M.2 slot for a SATA SSD, so that's why we're gonna go with this slot. So installed is a 16GB SanDisk SATA SSD, and there's a little screw here, and you just remove it and you can then upgrade a larger storage device. Now for some reason HP went with a Torx screw. You're looking at a T8H. Now to access the RAM, there's two screws that we need to loosen here, and then we should be able to remove this here, and we can see two SODIMM slots. So the maximum system configuration is 16GB. At the moment there's a 4GB SODIMM installed. This is DDR3L low voltage. The channel configuration is single channel, even with two RAM modules, so it doesn't support dual channel. Now, having plenty RAM is quite important for this machine, because the APU will use up to 1GB of shared video memory. And finally, we're going to have a look at the PCI Express slot. So physically this is a 16X slot, but only 4 lanes are connected. So PCI Express 4X. Also, it supports low profile cards only. So we have a GT1030 here. Let's see if we can install that. You just gotta be a little bit careful, but it's fairly straightforward. Here we go, and then we close the cooling mechanism. There are no screws to hold it down, and that's all done, ready to go. And now we're going to have a look at Windows XP first for retro gaming, but we will also talk about Windows 10. So Windows XP was fairly easy to install. When you turn on the machine, press Escape and you can access the BIOS, boot menu and diagnostics. In the BIOS, there's the usual stuff, but very interesting is that you can lock down the shared video memory up to 1GB. The way I installed Windows XP, I used the Easy to Boot project. I've shown a video recently how to use that. I put a card up on the screen, and after Windows XP was installed, I used the Snappy Drivers project, which found all the drivers. So let's have a look at some benchmarks. We got 3D Mark first. We're comparing the T620 Plus against the previous model, the T610 Plus, which we also reviewed on the channel. So across the board in 3D Mark, we can see that the T620 Plus has a stronger processor, which we can see in 3D Mark 2001 SE, but also a much more powerful video card, which we can see on the 2005 results. In these graphs, we can see what impact the GeForce GT 730 has. The graph on the left is the same that we looked at before, basically the results with the integrated graphics. And on the right side, we have all the results again, but benchmarked with the GeForce GT 730, and we can see a nice boost, especially in 2001 SE and 2003. We're getting over 20,000, which is a fantastic result. But even 3D Mark 2005 shows a nice improvement with the T620 Plus. But what about games? Let's have a look at Far Cry. With the integrated graphics, we can see around 30 FPS on the 610 Plus, but the 620 Plus does around 60 FPS, so roughly twice as fast. If we install the GeForce 730 GT, we can see that the 610 Plus now achieves around 40 FPS, whereas the 620 Plus with the stronger CPU around 60 FPS. So Far Cry is quite playable on the T620 Plus if you install a GeForce 730 GT. The next game is Doom 3 with high quality using OpenGL, and once again we can see the 620 Plus being quite a bit stronger. For example, at 1024x768, it's the difference between being over 60 FPS compared to around 46. Now once we upgrade the video card, the GeForce is very strong in Doom 3. With the 610 Plus we're getting around 60 FPS, which is very playable, but the 620 Plus does even better with around 90 FPS. So for Windows XP retro gaming, the verdict is clear. You will have a lot of fun with this machine. Even in the more demanding games such as Far Cry and Doom 3, you're getting decent performance out of the box, but if you install a dedicated video card, you get even better performance. So most Windows XP games should be really playable on this machine. And if you're looking for a nice, compact, quiet and power efficient retro gaming PC, this might be something for you to check out. So because the machine did quite well under Windows XP, I wanted to try out Windows 10. I stuck with the 4 GB of video memory as I found for the purpose of running a home server or for media files, Netflix and YouTube. That's plenty of RAM. However, feel free to upgrade the RAM. You can go up to 16 GB. The video card I used was the GT 1030, but of course I also had a look at the integrated graphics first. Now storage, I replaced the flash module with a 32 GB module, which is in my opinion not enough. However, I heard that Windows 10 is working on some light version soon, which should work on 16 GB modular machines, so that will be something interesting to check out in the future. But let's come back to the machine. So out of the box with the integrated graphics, we get 4K up to 30 Hz. So for media playback, that's actually not too bad. But the display device I eventually ended up using was 1080p. So with the integrated graphics, Netflix at 1080p work just fine. And you can actually open Task Manager and you can see the GPU acceleration working. YouTube 1080p worked fine as long as you stick to the H.264 codec. So for Google Chrome, there is a plugin because by default it will use the VP9 codec. And unfortunately, the video card, it's a Radeon 8400E. It supports the Unified Video Decoder 4.2 and the Video Compression Engine 2.0. And unfortunately, it doesn't really support accelerating the VP9 codec, and that showed. So you really need to use the H.264 codec on this machine because the processor and the APU is not powerful enough to handle YouTube with VP9. Now that changes if you install a video card, so the GT 1030, if you install that supports HDMI 2.0, so you can do 4K 60 if you want. And the GeForce will also accelerate VP9, and then you can watch YouTube in Chrome without any issues. So what do I think of the T620 Plus? For Windows XP retro gaming, this is a really awesome machine. Even out of the box, without upgrading the video card, you get sufficient performance, and the RAM it comes with, the 4 GB as well as the 16 GB of flash memory, are sufficient to get started. And if you're looking for more performance, you can install a video card. I also really like the power efficiency. Without a video card, idle and watching Netflix, you're getting really low power results, which are on the level on current modern mini PCs. Windows 10 also runs fairly well. I found the experience quite responsive and snappy. A bit disappointed by the video acceleration. The whole concept of an APU combining video processing and CPU processing sounds good on paper, but the age of the video chip shows, and so it doesn't support the VP9 codec, which is a bit of a shame. But if you're happy with 1080p, you can get a plugin for Chrome, and then it will use the H.264 codec, which the integrated Radeon will accelerate without any issues. So in terms of the performance, I was really impressed. I can see this machine being used in all sorts of projects. Now, I wasn't that happy with the sticker. It looks ugly and it was really difficult to remove. So that's something to watch out for. Because most sellers have quantity of these units, they've got one generic photo. So best is to contact them and see if you can get a photo of the exact unit that you would be getting. And also the missing stand is something well worth looking out for. The unit is meant to be used in as upright position, so it should come with a stand. And that's it for this video, guys. Now we will be looking at more thin clients. The next project will be quite interesting. It uses a CPU that is not from Intel, or not from AMD, and not from VIA. So if you think you know what that machine is, leave it down below in the comments. And yeah, let me know what you think of this machine. And as always, if you found the content interesting, be sure to subscribe so you get future updates. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I shall see you soon with another one.